Hello everybody, this is John D again, and welcome to another episode of Godzilla and his amazing friends with audio commentary. Much like the previous episodes, I will be providing some trivia about the episode, pick up on some things that might have been missed, clarify a few things, and talk about the production of the episode to explain to you how it came to be. So let's get into it. First thing I should start off by saying is that episode 5, to my surprise, was the most seen episode in the series. Currently, the most seen episode now is episode 8, but that's a different episode for a different audio commentary for. But anyway, for a long time this used to be the most popular episode of the series, so I'll explain what my ideas were when I was putting it together. First thing I should point out, the title you see here, A Call for Help, originally I forgot how to use the text for when I put them into the episode, because at the time, just around the beginning production of this episode, I had actually lost my previous computer because of a Trojan attack. I'm not going to get into it, but basically, this episode is practically the first episode in which I actually started making new episodes with my new Windows 7. So, A Call for Help, the text was pretty much different because I forgot how to change how the signature style was done. But now that I do know, hopefully that weird new style of text won't be returning anytime soon. But anyway, let's get on with it. This scene of Godzilla sleeping here, again, my bad tendency of making him sleep a lot. Originally, I had seen Godzilla and the Sea Monster a while back, and I was sort of inspired to try and make the sitting position of Godzilla sleeping his signature sleeping stance, because that movie was pretty much one of the very few in which we do see him asleep. Well, that and of course the cave scene, but the sitting scene is the most popular, so I thought I'd use that for this, but I didn't. Now that I looked over that scene and the one that followed in the next episode, I prefer the laying down stance better, so don't expect the sitting stance to return soon. Once I finally get a hold of this sleeping cliche gone with. Something else I should probably notice too is that this scene with Godzilla by the trees that you saw earlier, that was actually one of my first attempts to actually put layering into effect for this series, or make it more effective involving trees, to make the characters more three-dimensional. As you can see now with Godzilla behind the bushes, he's following baby Agira to his mother. So, just thought I'd mention that there too. One more thing I should probably cover here is the clarification of the genders of the Agiras. Now, I believe mostly everybody who watches my series knows the deal behind the Agira family, but for those of you who don't, just to clarify, that the tiny Agira is a baby boy, and the light Agira was the mother, and the Agira there that was bloodied is the father, who was killed in battle against this upcoming monster, Godzilla. Now, with this in mind, originally, I had thought of episode 5 prior to episode 4, hence why I put up a contest for it, because I wanted to kind of give a little bit of pacing for introducing allies into the series, and this stuck out better as a 5th episode rather than a 4th, so that way it would better introduce a new character that would be an ally to Godzilla rather than just jump the gun and make Antlar the episode. So that's the reason for the story idea, or story contest for episode 4, to kind of give an extra leadway into this episode. Also, something else you'll notice with these scenes right now, and since Godzilla appeared, is that you'll notice shadows underneath the monsters. This is actually because the entire sequence involving Godzilla is the only actual time in which I've implemented a green screen into the series. For the majority of the series, I've only used like a blue poster board and a white poster board to add contrast to it. But unfortunately, it kind of gave off this sunsetish hue, which eventually I stopped using over time. But at the time, it was the best way to key out the colors in the background, so that way I could make all these images. And at first, I thought the blue screen would badly damage Golza's keying, so I wound up using a green screen for every scene in order to make Golza a little more opaque, as opposed to him bleeding through when I had to select and key out the colors behind him. So it was kind of like killing two birds with one stone, and I noticed that the shadows were there, so I left those in to kind of give the monsters a little more depth. Will I go back to using it? I don't really know at this time. I probably won't, because it was quite a hassle, to be honest, because with a green screen, I have a really bad problem with shading when it comes to green screen or blue screen, and this entire battle involving Golza was actually a lot harder than it seems. The green would constantly shift colors whenever I was trying to key it out. So, yeah, I don't believe I'll be using that effect or a green background that often as I thought I'm going to. Also, this scene here with Golza's foot on Godzilla's neck, I was trying to have him try and crush Godzilla's neck, similar to how Antlar tried to do the same thing in the previous episode, but I forgot to add the neck cracking sound, so that was just to clarify a little thing right there, that trying to kill Godzilla as quickly and efficiently as possible. Now, this scene right here that you're seeing, this is pretty much where the Agiras figure out that Godzilla is there to save them, and so they repay the debt by using pretty much their signature ability, their horn, to impale Golza, as you've seen there. Because Agira is one of the few monsters that do not have any superpowers, so I wanted to have them rely on their agility and their horn as their best weapon for combat. Something else I should bring up too while that scene was last present. Golza's beam is actually one of the trickier ones I had to work with when putting the episode together, because whenever during Golza's appearance, it always looked like it was charging up, but it changed between layers, so it wasn't like up from the bottom of his neck and through the horn. It just it switches between different parts of his neck, which is pretty tricky. So I decided to make it layered for Golza in order to charge up his attacks, as you saw throughout the episode. And this scene right here. Now, there's something I kind of have a problem with using monsters to kill off with ease for Godzilla. And with Golza, I know with most of the monsters, they just seem to have some somewhat copped out kills in Ultraman, and that the specimen rate kills them. Okay, but with some of the monsters, it seems like normal weapons would just bounce right off their armor or whatever. So, with Golza's kill, I wanted to make it a little more understandable. Agira punctured him, which made a big wound, allowing Godzilla to exploit the wound with his highly explosive atomic ray. And I wanted to implement that with as many monsters as possible, but over time I found that a little problematic because Godzilla has no real piercing capabilities, and I didn't want to use the Agiras all throughout the series. So, unfortunately I couldn't do that for all of them, but for the majority of them I hope to do that to kind of make the deaths a little more realistic. And again, I'm trying to implement the sitting position, which now that I look at it is pretty awkward. So again, don't expect the sitting sleep to return anytime soon, because now that I look at it, it does look pretty awkward. And trivial note, just for those of you who don't know, Agira is the first female ally of Godzilla, And if you bring up Mothra, well, you'll have to deal. I'll explain that in a later episode. But, yep. Mama Agira is the first female ally for Godzilla. And that's just about it for episode 5. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'll see you next month for episode 6. Later.